time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Thank you, and we love having you with us on this Tuesday edition of the show. Thank you, Chad Erickson. Lots to do over the next 60 minutes. Some NFL talk today. Matt Verderame, SI NFL Insider. Get some thoughts with him. Also, the Matt Verderame Show on Patreon. See what he has to say about a whole slew of items. We'll get into a lot of the quarterback stuff as well, with the news that Sam Darnold is not going to be franchise tagged by the Minnesota Vikings. Whole bunch of QB questions around the league to get to. Myles Garrett, a whole bunch more. But we start things out in the NBA. Vladimir Lewison is here for the next 2 days. Sammy Arnell off for the next couple of days. So here is Vlad from WQAM Radio in Miami. I'm sure, like many, you saw the injury last night to Kyrie Irving in a blowout loss to the Sacramento Kings early on in the game. Irving driving down the lane, his knee hyperextending. It did not look good. He went down in a heap. He was in tears. And usually when an athlete's in tears, they kind of know what's coming. They kind of know what's coming their way. You know, these guys know their bodies very well. And are very in tune and in sync with sort of where their bodies are. My sense is he probably knows this was not good. And look, all we're doing is reading the tea leaves. By the time you see this, we'll probably have the news as to how severe the injury is. And most people who look at it say best case it's a hyperextension or a bone bruise. Best case it's a torn worst case it's a torn ACL. You know, best case it's the hyperextension. I tend to lean towards the fact that this was probably an ACL injury, based on things we've seen in the past and watching enough of these games over the years. But we'll get some sort of official word today. And it just continues what has been, I mean, man, it can't get much worse for the Dallas Mavericks, Vlad, than it has. I'm not laughing in a ha-ha way. I'm just more in amazement at how badly things could go in a span of just a month.
Dude. Nico Harrison's going to go through the Obama phase. Remember when Obama was, right before Obama was elected as president, he looked young, dapper, suave. And then after 4 years in office, the man had more gray hairs than like a 75-year-old man. Nico Harrison's going to go through that in a month. Things could not have gone any worse for the Dallas Mavericks ownership and executives after that Luka trade. Bad enough the fan base is still irate over the trade.
Yeah.
Then you had the audacity the other day to say that you're going to increase ticket prices after the trade of your franchise superstar.
Yeah, we'll get to that. And I want to talk about that in the next segment.
Right. But that's one. And also the asset that you got back from the trade got hurt 30 minutes into his playing action. In 2/3 of the game that he was playing, his first game, he got hurt in Anthony Davis. And, oh, my God, the imagery yesterday of seeing Anthony Davis carry Kyrie Irving to the background. That's the picture saying a lot in itself. That picture of Anthony Davis bring Kyrie back, that's the Dallas Mavericks. Like, that's your franchise. Those are your two guys that you're putting the franchise keys to. You gave the franchise key to, and they're hurt. They're injured. You don't know when Anthony Davis is coming back, and you don't know what's going to happen now with Kyrie Irving. Like you said, at best, maybe hyperextension. Hyperextension, probably 4 to 6 weeks. And at worst, he's out for the rest of the 24-25 season.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, not to try and make light of this if you're another organization, if you're these teams down at the bottom of the pack in the Western Conference as it relates to potentially getting into at least the play-in situation. But it opens the door for Phoenix because Dallas is number 10 right now. And you look, it opens the door for Phoenix, opens the door for Portland.
That's the team,
who's been playing a little bit better as of late.
Not even a little.
Yeah.
They played a lot better of late. And I don't think this Phoenix situation, Jason Page, is disgusting. They do not like each other. I think all parties are involved just waiting for the season to end. I don't see why put themselves through this misery of trying to get into play-in and then win a game and then get blown out by OKC. I think it opens the door for the Portland Trailblazers. It would have opened the door for the San Antonio Spurs if Wembanyama doesn't get hurt.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it definitely opens the door. And Sacramento's been playing good basketball of late.
Well, Sacramento's right now at 8. T-Wolves are at 9. T-Wolves have been playing a little bit better here over the last few days, but still, boy, that play-in situation, I'm looking at it. Golden State is 6 right now, and they basically have the same number of losses as the Clippers out there in the West, so that's the battle for play-in or not play-in. Can you make the top 6, or are you going to be in that play-in situation? That's an interesting spot right there. But you have to imagine if this is it for Kyrie for the year, even if it's 6 to 8 weeks, I don't think they could survive that long without him. And then you're talking about a situation where Dallas, probably winds up on the outside looking in. It's funny, not funny, haha. Hold on, it's funny, but not funny, haha, but funny, interesting. I don't know who suggested it the other day. You might know. Somebody was floating the idea that the Knicks should trade Jalen Brunson for Kyrie Irving, which I thought was just mind-numbingly stupid. I don't know who floated it, but somebody floated it, and I was reading about it the other day and just going, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
I think I saw it on maybe, I think it might have been a Jeff T podcast or something to that effect. Where
yeah,
they were
it was a pod. Yes, it was a former NBA
Kyrie
player.
Irving,
Yes.
It was Jeff T's podcast.
You were going to say something. Go ahead.
With the way things are going bad for Dallas right now, you ready?
Yeah.
Conspiracy theory number 1?
Yeah.
The Dallas Mavericks will get the cold envelope and get Cooper Flag.
But let's think about this for a second. Now that you mentioned the cold envelope theory, let's think about this for a moment.
That cold envelope is going to a Texas team.
Well, let's see. If it's Utah, New Orleans, San Antonio.
That's what I said. It's going to go to a Texas team.
Portland, Phoenix, Washington, Charlotte, Toronto.
It's either going to be Texas or Chicago. San Antonio, Dallas,
Philadelphia.
or Chicago.
Philadelphia?
No, they don't want to do that. They saw how that process worked out. It didn't work out too well. But when things are looking bad for a big market, the NBA is going to try to do anything in their power to help them out. I won't be shocked if the Dallas Mavericks have the lowest odds to get the number 1 pick, and they do.
Hoping the best for Kyrie, but when we come on the air on Wednesday, I assume we're going to get the worst. We'll obviously have it covered. Watch this space. We're coming back. More NBA on the other side. We take it to segment 2 on this Tuesday edition of Sports Wrap. We'll be joined in 10 minutes by Matt Verderame, SI.com NFL Insider. Get some thoughts with him. Also, the Matt Verderame Show on Patreon. Go and check that out as well. So Matt Verderame, we'll get into some quarterbacks, some Myles Garrett stuff as well. Continuing the conversation on the NBA, and by the way, wall to wall, we'll have tons of NBA, not wall to wall, but we'll have tons of NBA tomorrow on the show. Kurt Heelan hangs out with us on the program from NBC Sports. Pro basketball talk at NBCSports.com is his jam. So Steve Kerr, for Allen Iverson, we talking practice. For Steve Kerr, we're talking traveling. Watch.
A non-travel call?
I mean, I don't understand why we're not teaching our officials to call travel in this league. They do a great job. They work their tails off. They communicate well. But I see 5-6 travels a game that aren't called. We had 4 ourselves in Philadelphia. None of them were called. It's a problem when there's like 100 fans in the stands and every coach on the sidelines. When I'm watching film, it's like everybody's doing that. So everyone's seeing it. So we're clearly not teaching as a league our officials to look at the feet. And I've made that clear to the league. Maybe I'll hear back from them after these comments, but for the good of the game, the entire game is based on footwork. And for the good of the game, we need to enforce traveling violations, and we're not doing it, and I don't understand why.
You did. I mean, it looked like you were pointing at the fans. Was that because there's people in the stands?
Yeah, because the guy across the way is going like that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I see it every time I watch tape. There's 3 or 4 plays a game where the whole bench and everyone sees it. So I just think we can do a better job. And like I said, it's about the way we're teaching them. It's not. These guys are awesome. They got brutal jobs and they got a million things to watch. But footwork is the entire basis of the game, and we need to call traveling. It's going to be a much better game if we clean it up.
Well, there you go. Steve Kerr got a tech in this game because he was mad about a traveling call. I don't go to NBA games to watch a bunch of traveling calls, and let me tell you, of all the rule changes they've made and players having to adjust and ticky-tack fouls and all these different things, if you start enforcing traveling, NBA games will be downright unwatchable, Vlad.
It'd be the equivalent of you call holding the NFL on every play.
Yeah.
First of all, I know he's wilding. He's coached in an era where we thought that James Harden we thought was walking every time he would do his step back 3-pointer, to the point that I think the whole league was like, isn't it out of travel? Isn't out of travel? They had to look at it. It's like, no, he's not traveling. One of our favorite players, Patrick Ewing, every time he dribbled across the lane, that was a travel. That was 3 steps. But superstars got the benefit of the doubt. Stop it, Steve. If you really want to nitpick, all these players are doing some type of violation every time. Even when they're dribbling, they're carrying the ball, but they don't call it unless it's like so blatant that they have to call it. Now, one thing I don't want to hear my coaches ever say, they're listening to what the fans are saying. I don't want to hear that.
But you may not want to hear it, but let's be honest. We know they're all hearing it. Yeah, but I mean, what's the difference?
Publicly.
What's the difference if it's said publicly versus not being said publicly?
But here's the thing. I don't want to hear a coach like Steve Kerr, a 4-time champion as a head coach and a 5-time champion as a player, telling me that, I could see the fan across the court doing the symbol, and that's no, okay. We all know that. Fans are going to do that. Fans are going to tell the referee that, Jason. But I don't want to hear the coach of a team saying that. Even the fans, when you have 100 fans. So when you say that, don't be upset when the fans, nitpick you or critique you. And you're like, oh, the fans don't know what they're talking about. Well, you were using the fans when you were trying to say that there was a traveling call. Nonetheless, as they've been traveling, it's traveling all the time. There's going to be traveling calls in the playoffs. Then we're going to be like, oh, they should have called it. They don't. Players get away with things.
There's breaking. There's breaking news that we're going to get to here in just a moment after a word from our friends over at Credit Associates. Are you $10,000 or more in credit card debt, in over your head trying to make monthly payments? Well, there's a powerful debt relief program the credit card companies don't want you to know about. Overcome the debt trap of multiple credit cards, high payments, and high interest rates that keep you in debt for decades with one affordable low monthly payment. Credit Associates debt relief program can help you resolve your debt in as little as 24 to 36 months, and that'll save you thousands of dollars in decades in debt. Find out how much you can save right now. Call 1-800-747-5362. That's 1-800-747-5362. Our friends at Credit Associates. It's Halfuary. Scan the QR code right now. So it is official, Vladimir Lewis. Kyrie Irving done for the year. Shams Charania had it first. Breaking news. Done for the year with a torn ACL. So, and now look, now you have a Mavericks organization that has raised ticket prices.
Mm-hmm.
They've traded away their biggest star, and it does lend credence, a once in a generation star, and it lends credence to this idea, this conspiracy theory that people are putting out there that they're just going to make it as bad as possible and then move the team to Las Vegas. Now I know everybody's saying it's not going to happen, but when you get the Adelsons buying the franchise, the Adelsons very well known with Las Vegas, just saying. You going to pay? Are you going to pay? Are you really going to pay increased prices to go watch this team? Oh my God!
Maybe that's the reason that the fans started not to show up. That's the reason now we're going to move to Nevada. But the thing about it is, though, it's really going to be hard for you to move this team to Nevada with that Mavericks team when they really established themselves as the second best franchise in the city of Dallas. And the one that's given them, well, besides the Rangers, they're the only two organizations in Dallas stars. Those other three organizations have given Dallas a title before the Cowboys have, over the last 30 years. Dallas has given you 2 titles, 3 NBA appearances. You have a legend in Dirk. You uproot that Maverick organization in Vegas, that's going to be nasty work.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that's been floated is the idea that they go to Vegas and then Dallas gets an expansion team. It's
still not the Mavericks, though. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I don't know, because it's sort of a Cleveland Browns situation where you're able to retain the name of the franchise. Again, I'm just saying what's been reported. It has not worked out well. Matt Verderame is next. And this Tuesday edition of Sports Wrap continues. I promised some NFL, and some NFL we will do with our friend Matt Verderame. Stops by the show, does a great job. SI Insider there. Also, the Matt Verderame Show on Patreon. Go and subscribe now. All right, let's talk some NFL, Mr. Verderame. So, does this, if what's being reported is true and the Vikings are going to not franchise tag Sam Darnold, it doesn't obviously preclude them from still signing him. It just means they're not going to pay him $40 million.
Right. Look, the problem for Darnold is that he played so badly at the end of the season. It's going to be really hard for him to get the money that I think he was going to get before those 2 games. Those 2 games are so bad and so impactful. They're going to last in people's minds. Now, for Minnesota, if they want him back, that's fine. I understand why they'd want him back. He played very well for the majority of the year, but they're committed to J.J. McCarthy. They're super excited internally about him in the building. They're not going to pay Darnold the money that I think other teams might be willing to pay him. I think the Raiders are going to be out there very willing to pay him. I think the Giants are going to inquire, as they will, about every quarterback in the league right now. Tennessee might, check in there. I think going back to the Jets is probably out. But, there are going to be a lot of teams that are interested in Sam Darnold in a way that Minnesota isn't, because Minnesota has its starting quarterback in McCarthy.
Does this feel a bit, I literally just thought of this as you were answering. I was obviously listening to every word you said, but
I wouldn't have bothered doing that.
No. Just thought about this. Does this feel like Matt Castle has that 1 year in New England with the Patriots and then gets paid a ton of money by the Chiefs, and then we kind of saw what he was?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some truth there. Look.
Yeah, now that you're thinking about it, you're like, yeah, that's not so crazy.
The buyer beware in this, with all due respect to Sam Darnold, had a very good year, is that Kevin O'Connell is viewed around the league as one of the best coaches in football. And I don't mean one of the top 10. I mean top 5, he's starting to get a reputation, same like Sean McVay had, and has, where you look at him and go, man, that guy is going to get the best out of everybody on that team, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
Right.
Darnold had a great situation last year. They ran the ball effectively. The offensive line was good. Even when Darius Rucker got hurt, they still remained good. They had Cam Robinson. Great receivers. Really good tight end. And then you have O'Connell, who makes your life so much easier as a quarterback because of the way that offense is played. Now, let's live in a world where he goes to the Raiders, because a lot of people in the league think that might be where he ends up. If he goes to the Raiders, there is no Justin Jefferson on that team. There is no Jordan Addison on that team.
You see it. We can see it happening before
that. That line is not it's just, Pete Carroll is not Kevin O'Connell from an offensive standpoint here. It's the kind of thing that I'd be very worried about if I'm a Raiders fan, or and that just is an example, but okay, you had a really good year. Are you that guy, or are you that guy because it was perfect? everything was perfect. That's what would worry me the most.
And he's going to get paid a ton of money by somebody. And I just got a feeling I know the way the story. I just have a feeling I know the way the story winds up going. We will put a pin in that one and revisit later down the line. Aaron Rodgers, Giants. I mean, is it crazy?
I think it's crazy for the Giants.
I agree, but
I think the Giants are desperate as hell because Joe Shea knows that if he doesn't win this year, he's going to lose his job. And that is a very, very hazardous place to be if you're an organization, is that your front office is operating on the idea that win or, I don't know if I can say this word here, but give it a shot, win or it's my ass.
No, you can say that. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, we're good then.
We're good.
Like, it's if I'm John Mara, I'm sitting down with Joe Shane saying, look, you don't have to win 12 games, but we've got to end this upcoming season walking out of the building saying, you know what? We're going in the right direction. Things are looking up. We feel good about our future. We've got a real plan in place. Because to me, I'd rather go, let's call it 6-11 with Cam Ward or Shador Sanders, somebody of that ilk. But I feel really good walking out of the season. Like, you know what? They're playing well. Things look good. Rather than having Aaron Rodgers and I go 8-9 or 9-8. But it's like, all right, well, now what? Because now we're picking 14th and we don't have a quarterback. And the other thing, too, this whole idea that, like, he and Devontae Adams are like this, like, wrestling match tag team that comes into town together. I'd be like, look, I don't give a damn that you want this guy and like you've got to have him like he's a 5-year-old with a blanket. But look, I'm not signing Devontae Adams just because you want me to sign him. I have nothing against Devontae Adams. He's still a good player. Mm-hmm. But I guess my point is I'm not letting Aaron Rodgers dictate any terms at this point. I'm doing what I want to do, and if you want to be part of that, cool. But if I were the Giants, I wouldn't touch Aaron Rodgers with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, and I don't think he could afford to dictate after what the last 2 years have spelled out, for him. I think at the end of the day, he probably knows that he doesn't have those 2 years. In the last minute of this segment, Justin Fields, Kirk Cousins. Justin Fields is an interesting one to me because he didn't play a lot last year. He did early in the year. He played well. We still don't know what he is. Or do we?
I think Justin Fields is a good backup quarterback.
Oh, you went there. You put him in the friend zone. You put him in the friend zone.
He's a good backup quarterback. That's what he is.
Put him in the friend zone.
The Steelers are the team to me that they are going to have the worst offseason possible because they should blow this thing sky high, and they're not going to do it. They should blow it up. TJ Watt's got 1 year left. George Pickens has 1 year left. They should trade both of them.
Yeah, but are you blowing it up and keeping Mike Tomlin? That doesn't make sense.
Well, I see, but this is where we diverge.
Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's hold. So I'm going to keep you for one more segment. I want to explore this a little more because I don't know how you blow it up and keep Mike Tomlin, but I want to hear your take on this. We're hanging out with Matt Verderame, does a great job. SI, the Matt Verderame Show over on Patreon. We'll keep him for one more segment as we continue on a Tuesday Sports Wrap. All right, keep things moving on this Tuesday edition of Sports Wrap. Our friend Matt Verderame hanging out with us. We're just talking cards during the break. We're both baseball card freaks, but see, I like the newer stuff. He likes the older stuff. He's more of the vintage variety. He buys the old bottle of wine. I buy the new bottle. That's
true. I am very much old school in most things in my life. Yes.
I want to explore what we were talking about on this Steelers thing because you say they should blow it up. And by the way, I wouldn't necessarily disagree. But if you're going to blow it up, why are you keeping Mike Tomlin? You had an explanation.
Yeah, I mean, look. So this is where the Steelers and I diverge. I would have sat down with Mike Tomlin at the end of the season and said, "Listen, you're still young enough to be here for 15 more years if you want to be. We'll love you as a head coach, but we're going to blow this thing up." And if you want to be here through that, we're happy that you're here. If you don't want to be, we're going to trade you. And it's up to you. What do you want to do? That's what I would have done. Now, at this point, they've shown no inclination of blowing this up. And I don't understand the thought process. I feel like they are kind of the Saints of the AFC, except they get away with it because they've won more over the years. It's the same thing, though. Like, where are you going? Is there anyone alive who thinks the Steelers can win a playoff game? Is there any human being alive who looks at the AFC and says, yeah, they're as good as Kansas City and Buffalo, and if Houston gets right on the line, and Baltimore, and if Cincinnati gets helped, like, there's this, kind of, quite honestly, they're kind of like Miami, where you look at Miami and you're like, where is this thing going? What are you doing? Like, what? Like, you're going to win 9 games again? I just am a firm believer you either want to be one of the best, obviously, or one of the worst, but you don't want to win 8 games all the time. That's going to happen once in a while. You don't want to be that team that does it all the time. I feel like that's who they are.
And it's interesting because if they're in the NFC, it's probably a different story because it's not as littered with as many great teams.
Right.
They're a product, and the Steelers situation is a product of just how good the AFC is. Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins.
Well,
Kirk
Cousins. He's not going to be in Atlanta, is he?
I can't imagine he will be. There was chatter in Indy that he's going to be there, and I'm like, what?
Really?
You're going to put a $45 million quarterback behind Michael Penix and just be like, all right, this is going to work out now. Yeah, I'm sure Kirk Cousins is going to be thrilled about that. And every time Michael Penix throws an interception, he's going to look over his shoulder and see if Kirk Cousins is warming up. You can't.
Okay.
You can't. I think most people believe, talking to personnel people, if he gets released, and I think if he's gone out of Atlanta, he's going to get released. I can't imagine he gets traded. If he gets released, Cleveland is the fit.
Oh.
That's where he would go. Because he and Stefanski go back to Minnesota together.
Okay.
And so there's a tie there. Look, I got to tell you, if you're Cleveland, you could do a hell of a lot worse.
Yeah.
Based on what you've been doing the last few years. Because I don't think anybody thinks Deshaun Watson's ever playing for them again. I think that's over. Winston was awful. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, God bless him, I don't think he's going to be starting for anybody next year. So, like, if Cousins comes in and he's 75% of what he was in Minnesota, he's the best quarterback Cleveland's had in 5 years.
Myles Garrett doesn't want to be there anymore. I'm glad you mentioned Cleveland. They're trying to figure out a way to get him to an extension. He's like, nah, that ain't happening. So does he get dealt before the draft? What's the asking price? What makes the most sense?
They will tell you that they're not going to trade him. I think they're going to trade him. And I think they are smart to do it before the draft. If I were Andrew Berry, I'd call every team in the league outside of my division, because I wouldn't trade him in the division. Then I would say the price is at a minimum, like to walk in the door, it's 2 first-round picks. And then we'll go from there. Now, he's 29. He's a defensive player. He's going to need a new contract. That is going to complicate the compensation. I would not be surprised if this ends up being a first, a day 2 pick, and then maybe a couple of day 3 picks, something like that. Almost like Tyreek Hill's compensation, where I think, if I remember correctly, it was like a first, a second, 2 fourths, and a fifth, or something like that. I could see it being that, but I am telling people I am not even entertaining the conversation if it's not 2 first-round picks. And maybe you get a team that bites. The one thing that people have said in Indy that I believe, I think Buffalo is the team to watch with all this. Buffalo's got to go out and do something. They're not going to beat Kansas City if they don't change. They're just not. They can never get pressure on Mahomes. They've lost to him 4 times in the last 5 years in the playoffs. Well, why? Because you can't get to them. Right? Why did Philly destroy Kansas City? Because they got home. They just killed their offensive line. That is the only way Mahomes loses in the playoffs. Like, if you look back at his career, that is literally the only way he loses. If he's just under constant siege the entire game. I think if you're Buffalo, I'd call them up and be like, look, I'm not giving you 2 firsts. I'll give you a first. I'll give you a future third, because they actually own Cleveland already owns Buffalo's third this year for Cooper. I give him everything. I give him. You want James Cook? Fine. You want a first, a future third, and James Cook? Here you go. Like, they're going to need to make the move, and also watch out for Philly because it's Philly.
We talked about Philly yesterday on the show as a possibility. Last 40 seconds here. Are you surprised Travis Kelce came back?
No, I would have been surprised if he didn't come back. I think that the real key there is going to be, can he accept the lesser role? Because it's not his offense anymore. It's Rice and it's Worthy. Like, that's who's going to run this offense for this team. Can he walk in there and accept the fact that he's not going to get 100 targets? Can he accept the fact that he might get outsnapped by Noah Gray some games because they're trying to save him for the playoffs? I think he can. I think he's got the right temperament for it. But this offense is not going to go through him anymore. It's going to go through Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy, and that's going to be an adjustment. That's going to be a different place for Travis Kelce to be in. But I think if he serves as a third option, I think he can still be a very good player.
That's Matt Verderame. Yeah, check out his work over on SI. He does a great job there. Also, the Matt Verderame Show over on Patreon. Get that as well. Thank you, my friend. Be well. We'll talk soon.
You got it. Take care.
And we're coming back. All right, Odds and Ends wraps it up in 10 minutes. Now, yesterday on the show, you may recall, we talked about the WWE Premium Live event, the Elimination Chamber, which was held on Saturday, and we talked about it because there was a huge heel turn, which, I mean, again, we don't generally talk about wrestling on the show unless it's like earth-shattering news. And John Cena turning heel is certainly earth-shattering news. But apparently there was more news to come off of that Premium Live event that we're going to talk about. And I wanted to give Vlad an opportunity as well because he is a big wrestling fan to weigh in on the John Cena heel turn. So this gives me the opening to do it. For people who didn't see it, Travis Scott, who's part of The Rock's clique or whatever in this new storyline that's developed here. Travis Scott came into the ring with The Rock, and when they decided to start beating the snot out of Cody Rhodes, Travis Scott took his shot at Cody Rhodes. Now, apparently, according to Dave Meltzer, who's one of the preeminent wrestling insiders out there, say what you want about him. I know. Some people like him, some people don't. I don't have an opinion one way or another, honestly. Dave Meltzer reported that Travis Scott taking his shot at Cody Rhodes caused Rhodes to suffer a busted eardrum and a black eye. And before we get to everything that happened at the PLE and let you weigh in, Vlad, because I know you got an opinion on it. This is why, man, you bring these amateurs in like a Travis Scott. And don't get me wrong. I mean, accidents happen even with professional wrestlers that do it for a living. But you're opening the door to stuff like this. And, man, I hope Cody Rhodes gets his shot at Travis Scott and doesn't miss. And make sure he gets Travis Scott good for what he did to him.
Well, one, it was obviously planned for him to hit him. And second, he was told, don't BS it. You got to make it look real or make it real. So he made it look real. Now, he is training from what they're being told. Travis Scott has been in the Performance Center training with the WWE. So I believe he's going to have a match in the near future. So might be a 6-man tag.
Yeah.
The way they're looking at it, he's obviously Travis Scott's a big star. One of the biggest stars out there. Been a big star for maybe the last 5 to 10 years. Definitely over the last 10 years. And he's a big wrestling fan. And a lot of these hip-hop artists right now, this young generation are big hip-hop fans. I mean, I'm big wrestling fans, so they join. They're part of it. Lil Yachty, Travis Scott, even Drake was at the show. And Drake would love the show. So if these entertainers in other forms of entertainment are joining the WWE, like Bad Bunny, and we saw how great Bad Bunny did, I'm all for it. But yeah, Travis Scott, if you are in the ring with Cody Rhodes, you're going to get a receipt. And trust me, you don't want to get a receipt. Receipts are one thing about wrestlers. They're like Aquarius people. They store. They're like Aquarius. They remember and you don't know when that receipt's going to come, but just know it's definitely going to come.
Yeah, it certainly is. Yeah, go ahead on the Cena stuff.
Listen, it was great. It was the last time the last time wrestling was like this was what, 96, when Hogan turned heel and Hogan turned NWO. I think it's a great move. Is it the greatest heel turn ever? No, because we know there's a expiration date to this. You understand what I'm saying? When Hogan did it, we didn't know what was going to happen, and that created the Monday Night War. We don't know. We all know that Cena's retiring at the end of December, so this might not be an extended period run as a heel, because you got to figure he's going to want to have his last match being adorned by the fans as a face. But
I wonder if he double crosses. I wonder if he double crosses The Rock.
Maybe, because you could have one more big match. The thing about John, you could have so many matches, and the greatness that I would think that this new current regime in the WWE is doing, it's literally, we've always said wrestling is a male soap opera, and it literally is a soap opera where a character gets involved with another character, and you don't understand why they're getting, like they're having a program, but it might be a setup for something down the line, or bringing back something from previous years, previous programs. Everything's all intertwined. So while you have Cody versus John, there's a CM Punk aspect to it. There's a Seth Rollins aspect to it. Like, everybody's being drawn. And one thing I want to tell wrestling fans, y'all might want to let these guys cook. Like, stop bitching and complaining about, the road to WrestleMania is slow. Oh, you did the same crap last year, and you were totally surprised by how it ended up. You wanted to take all the credit for, we made them change the WrestleMania 40 main event. And then it got to the point where, like, did we really change the WrestleMania 40 main event? Or maybe that's what they had all along. They're playing mind games with the fan, and I love it, because nobody wants to be surprised anymore, Jason. In anything, entertainment, sports, nobody wants to be surprised. Everybody wants to have the dirt. Everybody wants to have I got this information. Oh, I heard this rumor. So that they like, oh yeah, I was right. Everybody wants to be right. Nobody just wants to be surprised anymore.
No, it's I think a lot of what you said is extremely valid. I do find it surprising, though, and I said this yesterday, so I won't belabor it. I do find it surprising that Cena went heel. That was the one thing I really didn't. And I know some people thought it might happen. I just didn't think he would throw away all of that. He even put some inspirational quote on his X feed today, and I'm like, dude, you can't now. You just can't.
Yeah, well, he broke a wish. No more make a wish, just break a wish.
Well played. Odds and ends are next. Welcome back to the show. Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Tuesday. Kurt Heelan on the show tomorrow. Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. His weekly hit with us. Vlad will be back.
Yes, sir.
Sitting in today for Sam Yarnell, and he'll be back with us tomorrow as well. Reminders. Sports Wrap with Jason Page, the podcast version of the show, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms, including Spotify, where you can watch the show, iHeart, TuneIn, Amazon, Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, you name it, we're on all of them. Wherever you get your podcasts, go and check us out. Without any further delay, time for some odds and ends, presented by our friends at Credit Associates. Are you $10,000 or more in credit card debt, in over your head trying to make monthly payments? A powerful debt relief program is out there just for you. And the credit card companies, they don't want you to know about it. Overcome the debt trap of multiple credit cards, high payments, and high interest rates that keep you in debt for decades with one affordable low monthly payment. Credit Associates Debt Relief Program can help you resolve your debt in as little as 24 to 36 months. What are you waiting for? It can save you thousands of dollars and decades in debt. I have had credit card debt in my past. It is not fun. Go and do something about it with our friends from Credit Associates. Find out how much you can save. Call 1-800-747-5362. That's 1-800-747-5362, or just scan the QR code below. Hats off to Jessica Pegula. This is a cool story. So they played this WTA event in Austin, Texas. I guess it was a busy weekend in Austin because they had the NASCAR race, and then apparently there was this WTA event. The ATX Open in Austin, where Jessica Pegula, whose billionaire parents own the Buffalo Bills and the Buffalo Sabres, won the singles title in Austin. She beat fellow American McCartney Kessler 7-5-6-2. But what did Pegula do? Instead of hopping on her private jet and headed out to Indian Wells for this week's BNP Paribas and the main draw out there, she hung around, waited for the doubles final. Because in the doubles final, McCartney Kessler was also playing with Zhang Shuai in the finals there. Why did she wait? Well, with the players having this quick turnaround before the main draw begins at Indian Wells on Wednesday, Pegula offered to fly everybody, including the qualifiers, all these people, out to California with her for the WTA 1000 event, the BNP Paribas. Very cool gesture from Jessica Pegula to say, hey, hop on my private jet. These people probably never got to fly in a private jet in their lives, and now they get to fly one with one of the best female players in the world. Pretty cool gesture by Jessica Pegula.
Yeah, that's nice, but I'm not going to go crazy over it. I mean, one, it's Austin to Indian Wells. It's not that far of a flight.
No, but it's connect. I can tell you, as somebody who lives out here, the connections you got to make to do that flight and the late night layovers, all that crap.
I get that. No, I get that. But the way he was making it sound, like I'm thinking like the next day was the beginning of the draw. They have until Wednesday, bro. They had 3 days.
Yeah,
like,
but
it's okay. They would have made it. But Jessica did a nice gesture, and probably the plane was so big, those private jets, that she probably didn't want to fly by herself. Maybe have some friends on that private jet.
Or maybe she doesn't have a lot of friends, and now she has a few more.
Making an event, yes. I don't know. I mean, yeah.
It's a pretty big private jet. I'm looking at a picture of it right now. It's a fairly large private jet.
You made $17 million in your career, and your mommy and daddy owns the Sabres and the Bills. So that probably is another $11.7 billion in itself. Yeah, that plane is going to be very good. But nice gesture by her.
I agree. She didn't have to do it, and she did. And in a world that's getting ever more increasingly cruel, I think we should celebrate kindness and goodness whenever we have the opportunity.
I was just cracking a little joke, but that was a real nice gesture by her. And it also showed how much of a fan she is of those players, because, like you said, most top athletes, they're not trying to wait. They're trying to get the hell out of there.
Yep. I would be. Sorry, Vlad. You could take that puddle jumper to Albuquerque. You could take that puddle jumper to Albuquerque and T-Rex Air into Palm Springs. Good luck.
Okay, you have a routine. You do that. You do your routine. I have my routine as well.
I will fly alone and eat that caviar on the private jet, sir. Jose Altuve going to be playing left field most of this season for the Houston Astros.
I don't know about that.
That's what it says.
He's a short man. A ball over his head in the outfield, that could lead to a lot of extra bases.
Joe Espada says planning to play Jose Altuve mostly in left this year.
Who's their second baseman that they're replacing him with? Is this guy like some can't miss?
Itzhak Paredes.
He's been in the league for what? Wait, they don't believe Altuve can play second base anymore?
No, they had to put Paredes. They had to put Paredes somewhere.
I get that, but dude, there's not really much other positions in the that I really think Jose Altuve can play. You putting him in the outfield. That means you're not putting him center field.
It's a short left field, though. It's not like he has to have a huge arm to play left field there. So
yeah, but any ball that's hit, it can easily get over his head. Like
we get it. He's short. He is vertically challenged.
You're saying maybe a line drive to left field that maybe a guy that's 6'1" could go run back and make a reach and bring the ball back.
You don't think he can be an average left fielder? You don't think he can be? I think playing 81 games in that ballpark, he can be an average left fielder. And then you still slip him in.
He should have moved to the right. He should have been a shortstop.
You still slip him into, second base every now and then. I'm sure he'll still make a couple of spot starts there.
Move him to the other side of the infield. Should have made him a shortstop.
It's going to do it for us. We're out of time.
Fit proper.
We're out of time, and apparently Altuve's out of inches. Thanks to Matt Verderame. We'll see you all later.